Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to episode 48 of The Pond. Joined always by Curtis Kennedy, Michael Pulford. My name's Colson Pagana. Guys, we're in June now. Things are heating up, and so are the Stanley Cup playoffs. We're down to, can you call it the Frozen Four? I know that's a college thing, but...
I mean, you could call it, yeah, I guess.
It's the Final Four, but essentially... we are nearing close to the end of the playoffs, and it's kind of crazy that, you know, the time has flew, and the games have been so good, and now it's like we're only having one game a day now, which is like not enough hockey. We need more. So I don't know. We got to start watching. Is the KHL still on? Like, what else do we have to watch?
Seriously, dude, I think the KHL is over too, but yeah, man, it's been a couple days without any hockey games. Definitely a weird feeling.
Yeah.
But I, on my way back from New Brunswick, I had a few hour layover in Montreal. Montreal airport was absolutely buzzing.
Holy fuck, eh?
He's on Montreal talk TV, talk radio. They don't have much else going on there. It's like Canadians, everything. So they're hyped, and honestly got me kind of hyped too. I mean, not the team I would have chosen to be representing the Canadian division, but now that they're there, I hope they can acquit themselves well, because damn, dude, if they get like just dusted by Vegas, it's going to look real bad. And yeah, but we'll have to dive into the series in a little bit. We got some other shit we want to talk about first.
Yeah, we got a lot of shit to talk about, actually.
Yeah, Kurt, I know you were, you wanted to talk about this with the whole Owen Power thing going on in Buffalo. And I don't really know how much of this is Buffalo related, but basically Owen Power came out. I guess he did a big interview with TSN a couple days ago, and he basically said like he's not sure whether he's going to turn pro at the beginning of next season or whether he'll go back to college. So what are your thoughts on that?
I don't know, man. Like, Buffalo just seems to be the team that is cursed for some reason, and they can't get out of just being shit. And like pretty much the one thing is why I compare it to is the Sens and Buffalo were both really good teams in the mid 2000s and always like competing against each other and the Maple Leafs in the playoffs. And they were very heated battles and everything. And now seeing how the Senators have kind of almost rebuilt twice, the first one not being too great and obviously kind of doing it over, but they still made a couple of really good playoff runs in that span. And Buffalo kind of just they're just kind of fading out, like slowly sinking. Like it's a slow bleed instead of a fast one. Kind of like how Ottawa rebuilt, where it was really painful for 2-3 years. But now it's like, obviously you can see the up and coming players and how like good the future looks there. And you just look across to Buffalo and they've been rebuilding pretty much the same amount of time and they just can't muster anything together. They've got generational players, Jack Eichel. And they're going to, by the sounds of it too, with Jack Eichel, they've kind of just parted ways already with everything to do with his health conditions and the second opinion and everything. And I think Jack Eichel just wants to get out of there, man. And I think a lot of people, even the Sabres fans, can agree that that's the right decision at this time because he's put in the effort. And look at how many great players left, Ryan O'Reilly. And they're just kind of not producing any good, like real playoff talent right now. So I don't blame Owen Power at all, to be honest. Like, it's kind of selfish, but I don't.
Yeah. Well, hey, I mean, I'm not sure how much of it is actually him not wanting to play for the Sabres.
Yeah, 100%.
Because, like, I guess it hadn't occurred to me, but I guess, like, if you're from Mississauga or, like, Toronto area, playing in Buffalo is, like, the next closest you can get to playing in Toronto, right? So there's a positive in that sense. Like, he's not too far from home, so, you know, it'd be easy to make trips across the border every once in a while, maybe not mid-season, but and also the fact, like, if you're a highly touted prospect, right, going in and you're choosing like wanting to go OHL and the NCAA route, if you're choosing the NCAA, chances are it's because you want that like college experience, right? And this is something he said where he's like, you know, I kind of came here for that. I didn't really get it this year as a freshman because of COVID and everything. So I would understand it if you just wanted to go back and maybe get after it a little bit and, you know, obviously have another good season. But like playing that actual Frozen Four, with fans in the building and stuff like that. So I would understand it from that perspective. And it's not like Buffalo needs him next year, right?
Yeah.
So like,
You don't need anybody anytime soon.
dude, you're avoiding 1 year of just absolute shitstorm. Like, why not? There doesn't really seem to be a downside for me. But it is interesting with the Jack Eichel stuff because Elliot Friedman said in an interview on Buffalo Sports Radio, I think 2 days ago, said that he thought Buffalo was looking to trade Eichel just as much as Eichel wanted out. So it really does look like a deal is going to get done there, probably this offseason. And like it, as you said, Kurt, it looks like they're finally going the route of the Sens, where you have a generational player, you trade him for a shit ton of draft picks and prospects and commit to the rebuild from there. I guess like obviously their previous rebuild didn't work out and they still have good young talent. And I mean, if they do get Power, him and Deline as like your two defensemen to build a team around is pretty damn good. But man, like why in the world you would look to trade? I feel like you want to build with him. He's so fucking good. And it's just another like kick to the cock of Buffalo Sabres fans. Like, God, dude.
Well, like, okay, and a lot of people have said too, this is the part I found interesting, was like, you know, you could say that it was just because he wanted to play college for another year, but it was just kind of the timing was a little bit, you know, the timing was the only issue that I think people would have with it, is like, you know, the draft lottery happened. We found out Buffalo got the first pick. And then it, like not too far after that, it was like, yeah, I think I'm going to go back for another year of college. And it was like, wait, what? Like up until now, you've been pretty dead set on being part of the NHL next year. So just kind of funny. But I don't know. This is another thing that I was thinking about, is this is like kind of, he's not openly coming out and saying that, but are we going to see this in the future potentially, where prospects get draft, or like the draft lottery happens and then players are like, yeah, I don't want to play for that team, so they just back out? Like we could potentially see that, especially with like the millennial generation. I know they just don't really give a fuck. So it's like,
well, yeah, we've seen it happen a couple times. I forget, was it Justin Schultz and or was it Justin Schultz or was it Cam Fowler? I forget. There's like
Adam Fox did it too.
Adam Fox did it as well.
Yeah, he was drafted by Calgary, said he didn't want to play for Calgary, and then signed with New York.
Yeah.
Traded his rights for some duster, I'm pretty sure. But yeah.
BC did it as well. So we haven't had like a top prospect do this, but it is something that's been done. And then either you trade the rights or you hold out and keep them out of the league for, I think it's 3 years.
Yeah.
They finish college, graduate, and then come play as like a 22-year-old rookie and presumably light it up then. So I don't know, man. It's a tough one. Like if you're a top prospect, it's hard to take that risk of being like, yeah, I'm okay with not playing in the league for another 3 years. But I mean, if you really don't want to play somewhere, I guess fair enough. And maybe you can convince them to trade you. I mean, if your first overall pick says he's not playing for you, do you like try like hardballing him into coming by not trading his rights and just losing a first overall pick eventually? Or do you for like a discount, right? It puts the team in a tough situation too.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing with Buffalo too, and we've mentioned this in previous podcasts, is how fast they are to like fire the general managers and everything. And like how we've talked about general managers having like a lot longer of a like time or window to kind of get fired before they can, because I don't know, personally, I feel if you're a GM and you can't get that vision of like what your team needs to be when you start rebuilding, of like 4 years, probably 4 to 5 years, I'd say is a good amount of time, then obviously, yeah, you got to fire. The problem is it's a business. So people are like, the owners are always wanting to turn over faster and make money quick. And hockey's kind of one of those sports where you got to take a little bit longer to rebuild. But if they can do it, they got to just stick with their GM, see what he can do. And if they rebuild and it doesn't work out again, that would be brutal. But I mean, you'll probably make the playoffs after this run. So,
I mean, dude, that's a good point too. Cause I think they fired their last GM and players he had drafted had only played like 8 games for Buffalo.
Yeah.
So you really do have to give the GM like a long enough window to make moves, draft players, and then give those players time to get into the league. And it's like you can't really evaluate the performance of a GM over 2 or 3 seasons. It really does have to be like at least 5 or 6.
Yeah.
So I agree with that, where you need a little bit more continuity. And if you're a player going in there, like, doesn't look ideal for your development. And if your team's
No.
not playing well, you're not getting the continuity at coaching to like build a relationship, you know, and develop your game. You're just getting your shit kicked in every night, and you're living in Buffalo. Like, that doesn't
Yeah.
sound like a great deal for an 18-year-old, man.
The only good thing is the wings. So
Yeah. And occasionally being able to go see a Bills game.
yeah.
Through a couple tables.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. And also I was thinking about it too. Could you not, like, if the draft lottery happened and you knew that you were going first overall or going close to it, could you not as a prospect be like, like you could openly come out and say, if this team drafts me, I'm not going to play for them? Because that's your decision, right?
Good.
Yeah.
That's like such a not hockey thing to do. Like, we've seen it in like Eli Manning did it in football, which was like the high profile one.
Yeah.
But I don't think, like, I guess VC did it. He said he's not playing for Nashville, but that was after he got drafted, I think.
True. Yeah. Well, and I mean, it sucks if you're kind of Buffalo right now because, I don't know. According to Craig Button, apparently Owen Power is like, they haven't seen a defenseman like this in years. Like he's the comparable apparently is to Nicholas Lidstrom. So, I mean,
they already have a first overall pick who's comparable with Nick Lidstrom.
yeah, exactly. So it's like fucking.
Yeah.
I mean, if you have a player that's being like put under that kind of class, it's like, holy shit. Do you chance it or?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Some years just have more hype around the prospects too, where there's definitely a couple more like good prospects, but let's not be wrong that these guys or these kids are still really, really talented. Just not as deep, obviously. So
yeah,
we'll see how it plans, like how it works itself out and shuffles it out. But I could see a lot of teams like Ottawa's been talking about moving their pick up or down. I think there will be a lot of trades with Seattle being in the mix this year. So it should be a really good actual draft. So
yeah,
keep an eye out for that one.
I mean, Power definitely raised his draft stock by winning the World Championship. And I mean, he was getting matched up against like Vlad Tarasenko in the quarterfinals against Russia. Didn't look all that bad doing that. So you've seen him already against NHL talent, right? You kind of know what he's able to do. But Colton, I think it's a good point you make. Like, if Seattle won the draft lottery, would he be saying this?
Yeah.
Because I feel like if you're a first overall pick going into the first season with a new franchise, that is definitely an environment you want to be in. More like that's a once in a lifetime opportunity, more so than just being the first overall pick is. So I feel like you're probably right. Maybe he just is 100% in on Seattle. Being Buffalo, like, you look at what they've done with their last couple first overall picks and like how it's kind of played out, and maybe it's not all that enticing. I don't know.
Yeah, in Buffalo, you got to try and be the savior, or their fans want you to be the savior right away. But a lot of the times you're not. Nobody can just single-handedly be the one to bring your team up, unless you're Connor McDavid. But
I was gonna say the only exception.
Yeah, but
I'm gonna say with McDavid, dude, like, do you guys remember though, after that draft, like after the lottery, when Edmonton won that lottery, how devastated McDavid looked?
Oh yeah, he did. He looked upset.
Yeah.
Edmonton was already bad at that point, so.
Well, but he never said anything about it, right? So I feel like that's more the hockey culture among those top picks. It's a very specific like way that you're expected to act. So, but I will say that's changing. So we'll see. I wouldn't be surprised, maybe not this year, but sometime in the future, have top probably like first, second overall say, yeah, fuck that team, I'm not going there, sort of thing.
Yeah.
I guess not Nick Lidstrom, fucking Eric Lindros did it pretty famously, but.
And a hell of a trade tree came out of that trade.
Yeah. 2 cups for Big CO.
Yeah, 0 cups for Eric Lindros.
Yeah, that didn't work out for him.
Nope. No, maybe should have just learned to speak French. Um, but we should move on. And
Yeah.
one other thing, I mean, it's sort of related to the series. And we'll go through all our predictions from the last round. Spoiler alert, they didn't go too great. But what do you guys think about the Dougie Hamilton comments?
I love it.
Saying
Yeah.
like lost to a team 18 mil over the cap, and he's like, I don't have a problem with it. It's like rules, but like their team 18 mil over the cap. What are we fucking supposed to do?
Yeah.
I like it from Dougie being a free agent this year. You're obviously showing that he really does care about the games and everything. And man, he's been tossed around a lot throughout his career already, but that's not saying like without saying that he's a great defenseman. Like he can play up and down the rush on defense pretty well. He's going to get paid a lot of money this summer, I'm sure, whether that be in Carolina or somewhere else. But I like it, man. Like it is kind of the thing where the NHL always fights the CBA. They always make a new central bargaining agreement, and then they find a new way to have another lockout or another CBA where there's a big different like discrepancy in what the NHLPA wants and the actual NHL, and then we end up having these shit lockouts for half the year. So I think you should harp on it because it seems like there's always something for these high paying cap teams to just kind of work their way around the cap and everything. So
Yeah, I mean, and it's true, right? It's like it's not really like he's not making excuses for the team. It's just kind of like, yeah, what are you that's like an extra 20% basically.
Yeah. It's like, what are you supposed to do?
Yeah. So I
Kucherov, big game maker.
yeah, he's only leading the playoffs in points right now. So
Yeah. Not only like he's just one of the biggest game changers. Like it wasn't even 2 seasons ago that he won the Hart. Like
yeah.
if he played this season, he might have won the Hart. We have no idea. You know, even being in the division that he was, I feel like he still would have been close to McDavid, if not, just because that. I know the stats a little bit outdated, but I think I saw it like beginning of last week where it said Kucherov had like, I think it was like out of 15 points or something in the playoffs so far, 5 of them had come on even strength, and the rest were all power play, like all assists and all goals and shit. And it's like, I know Tampa's power play is an absolute wagon, but it's like, last year they weren't able to even produce this hard in terms of like on their power play. It was like mostly Braden Point driving every single offensive like rush and everything like that. And like now it's just Stamkos to Point to Kucherov to Point to Stamkos to Hedman. Oh, they scored. Oh my God, again. Like fucking 3 times in a game. Like, what do you do against that? Like, I actually I know going off on a tangent here, but swinging back to his comments, I agree with Kurt. Like, fucking something needs to be said, even though it's a loophole. I get it. It sucks. Like, it's just brutal to have to play against that. It's like, I don't know. It's like playing a team that's not even in the league, like a team that just comes in and is like, oh yeah, like all of our players are under the cap. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of brutal, but oh well.
Having your team be in the playoffs and 2 or 3 guys from the year above come down and play because their season's over early. Like, fucking jeez. Like, get the fuck off the ice, man. Like,
it's true though. Yeah.
Just a little bit of pickup, boys, and like meanwhile you've dedicated your whole season to this like final round and everything. You'd be like, this is bullshit.
Yeah, and like from the players' perspective, I feel like it's extra frustrating because it kind of delegitimizes their season. They won that division and presumably are the best team. And like they weren't far away. Like the series ended 4-1, but those first 2 games were super, super tight. Carolina could have won either of those. Like that series could have gone a lot differently, I felt like.
Oh yeah.
So it's like you look at it and it's like, well, maybe if they were at the cap, we would have beat them. And I think that's a legitimate argument, right? So then it's, well, maybe I should go, get a little rest and give my team a little boost here and sign a couple extra players. So it's a tough one. And I mean, obviously any team in the league could do that if they wanted and had a player that was injured. I guess Chicago did a similar thing in 2014, 2015 with Patty Kane, which was their third cup in, I think, 5 years at that point. But it shows to like get those back-to-backs or those like modern day dynasties. You kind of do need that little extra boost. And I'm not sure what we're going to see Tampa Bay do now, because they're going to have to shed 18 million cap space before next season. So that's going to be interesting. That's going to be a big garage sale going on there.
If you're Seattle, you're licking your chops, just like, ooh.
You're getting a couple quality players right there.
Oh yeah.
Well, something to like, just because it reminded me, but we'll obviously do it when it's closer to that expansion draft. But with one expansion team being recently in and where they are right now in the playoffs, Vegas does not have to give up. And I'm a Vegas fan and everything, but Vegas does not have to give up a single thing to Seattle this expansion draft, which I think is bullshit.
Kind of fucked up.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah. They're exempt from it because they just came in the league, and it's like, bro, so not only did the rules change for Seattle, so things are harder to get going, but now also you don't have to give up this app. Like, to be fair though, Vegas's window in terms of winning is not as big as, like, for example, Seattle's could be, because Seattle's probably, like, I shouldn't say it, but Seattle's probably not going to be one of the best teams in the league right off the bat. I don't know. They could be. But at the same time, like, if they finish middle of the pack, then people aren't really going to complain about it, because it's like they're not really bad or they're not really good. But if they're on one end or the other, people are going to be upset. You know what I mean? So,
yeah.
I don't know.
It's true.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that about Vegas being exempt, but they certainly don't need the help.
No, like they're in a tax-free state. Like, they probably either got Petrangelo or Mark Stone on the fact that they are in a tax-free state, so they can pay people less on the salary cap, just because they take home 100% of what they make, compared to Ontario where it's 56. It's more than half of your income pretty much, which is ridiculous. And other states like Florida and everything, you look at all the good teams, they're pretty much in tax-free states except for Dallas. So fuck you, Dallas.
Yeah.
Not a big fan of them.
I don't think anybody is, so. Other than Mike last year when he was trying to ride them through the playoffs, and then it just, hey,
It worked out well.
Oh,
Fizzled out, but still a good call. I'll take it.
yeah. That was a good take and a good call. I'll give you that, brother.
Yeah, definitely better than my takes in the second round. I think I went 0 for 4 here.
Yeah. At least I had a little bit of my magic from the first round, a tiny bit. But yeah, we'll get into those right away, eh? We'll get
Me and Kurt got every single series wrong.
You know what it is.
Colton got 3 wrong and got the Islanders winning 4-2 bang on. So props to you there, buddy.
Fuck you, Boston.
And I want to just quickly rip through these. I mean, I was surprised in that series at how well the Islanders were able to do, because, I mean, they kind of got walked all over by Pittsburgh and won because Tristan Jarry. And I expected something similar to happen against Boston, and it wasn't all that different from what I expected, but they were still able to pull through, play very well systematically. And like, Boston didn't look like they had a lot of looks outside of the ones that they put in the net. Right. So, and the Islanders surprised me with how much they were able to score.
Yeah.
So 4-2, well-deserved. And I don't know. I mean, we'll get into the Tampa New York series in a minute, but that's going to be an interesting one because it's a rematch of last year.
Yeah.
But boys, I think we can probably skip over Montreal, Winnipeg. We talked enough about that last week.
Bay.
Yeah. Wow.
Stay
there, but I know you boys have some thoughts on the Vegas Colorado series.
I was completely wrong. I thought that was going to 7 games, and I mean, it would have been nice to have another game yesterday to watch, but unfortunately, man, like I think it was game 3 we were watching out back, and Vegas just was dominating Colorado, and I was watching it beside Colton, and it was just obviously like I'm second favorite team is Vegas, but my number one team is Ottawa. So it's like I want to see Vegas win, but I also want to see Colorado win because obviously it would be super hype if they made it to the finals, and we could just be like celebrating outside and everything, having a good time watching them make it. But Vegas just dominated them, man. Like honestly, from when the first game that they got blown out, the second game they lost in OT to make it 2-0. Vegas played really, really well, but Grubauer stood on his head,
Yeah.
and was like keeping them in it. And then they squeaked one out in OT. And then from there on out, like you could just see they either just gotten their head or something. And Vegas kind of just accelerated and took away that series. And then the last game, to me, like the biggest thing, I was watching it and just like trying to figure out why is this happening to Colorado, because I was just genuinely curious. And seems like they just take a lot of like irresponsible penalties at like inopportune times, like Ryan Graves, and then like Sam Girard. He was like -5 or -4 that night, and like you watched every goal that they scored on, and he was just like obviously a bad game, unlucky, but he was just all over the place, and just sucks to see. But they need, man, Byram in a couple of years.
Well, he didn't even.
Colorado, yeah.
Was he still injured? Why didn't they put him in at some point?
Well, that's actually
COVID.
no. It was a little bit of it was a couple things. He was off on COVID for a little bit. Came back and played one game against Vegas and got like I forget who it was, but somebody fucking just like literally head checked him, like jumped up into the boards and just crushed his fucking head, and then he was out for literally the rest of the season and the postseason. So
he's still out with a concussion?
Yeah.
Okay, so they wouldn't have been able to put him in.
Yeah, no. They like he wasn't even getting a look. They said he was skating, but he was in non-contact jersey for the whole time they were practicing. So
brutal.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I agree with pretty much everything Curtis said. It's like, to me, this is a very similar situation to, I think, how Tampa had struggled in that 1 year against Columbus. They won the President's Trophy that year. They had an unreal season. It was like nobody could stop them. I remember, I think they were playing like Washington. I remember watching that video of like them putting on a passing clinic of literally it hit every single person's stick and then went in the net. It was like a tap in. Like fucking anybody would have been able to score that. And that was the year where I was like, bro, like watching this video, there's no way that Tampa loses this year. And then they got swept by Columbus in the first round. So I feel like Colorado's in a similar state where it's like you can be good and you can be really good in regular season, but the playoffs are a completely different game. And it's a slower game because teams definitely slow it down and tighten up their defense. There's more hitting. It's way more physical. The goalies, for some reason, get better unless you're Tristan Jarry. And it's very confusing to see because, you know, refs kind of let stuff go that normally wouldn't slide in the regular season. It's just a completely different game is what I'm trying to get at. And you look at Tampa winning last year and what they're doing now and their additions that they had, and a lot of it was grit. They added a lot of gritty players that were able to, you know, push them a little bit further and make them be able to switch their play style if they wanted to. Like, I'm pretty sure that second round against Carolina, they had like 10 or 15 more hits in Carolina almost every single game. And it's like, if you know Tampa, you know that they're a skilled team. You don't look at that team and go, oh yeah, they're really physical. They hit a ton. Like that's not what they're known for, right? So they switch up their game and they can squash people. They smother them. And then they have skill to be able to put the puck in the net. It's like, and then they have Andrei Vasilevsky to hold the net down. It's just, you got to play a different style of hockey. And people are starting to look at Colorado and being like, okay, they have one of the most skilled blue lines in the league, but they don't have the biggest blue line. And you look at their lineup and they don't have super physical players either. So it's like they got rid of Zadorov and Ian Cole in the past season, which those two guys are known for being physical. Like a lot of people are actually, and I've seen this more than once, so this is why I'm talking about it. People are talking about Alexiak being potentially a good, like getting rid of Eric Johnson if he moves his no move clause, and then bringing in Alexiak, because that's like the perfect defenseman to be able to like lock down and play a physical game if they need to. Because 100, like what Curtis said before, Gerard started to panic so hard in that series that they were exposing him big time. He would get rocked, and then he wouldn't be able to make a play because he was like, holy fuck, where am I? And yeah, if you're that small and you're used to having space, and teams are like, all right, do your spins, do whatever, get your passes in the regular season, then in the playoffs, they were just fucking hitting him every time he touched the puck. And so he started making shitty passes, started losing the puck, turnovers, whatever. And then that started going to Kale. And then Kale started doing that. And then Ryan Graves started doing that. And then Patrick Nemeth did it every fucking time he had the puck, which made me lose my mind, bro. But yeah, Grubauer was the only reason why that series went to 6 games. Like the only reason.
Was consistently like the three defensemen with like at least -3.
Yeah.
Like, and everyone else was like, McKinnon was decent. Like they were obviously on the ice, but it was spread out throughout the lines. But it was just those like the deep pairings, and it seemed like they were playing so much. Like Vegas was just 1 second ahead of them. Like they were playing on like a lag or something. And
watching it, like I don't know how much it has to do. Like obviously the physicality makes a difference, but I don't know if I'm Colorado, I don't know if size is really what you need to add. I think you just need people to buy in more to a two-way game. And I feel like they've built, especially their bottom 6 forwards, and I'm not the most familiar with this team. I don't watch them as much as you guys, but it seems to me that those bottom 6 guys, they're filled with still really skilled guys that don't necessarily buy into like that hard back checking type of hockey you need to be able to play in the playoffs. And you contrast that with like Vegas's top line with Mark Stone, who is probably the best defensive player, but best defensive forward in the league. I think that's fair to say.
Probably Selke winner.
Yeah, most likely.
Yeah.
So, and it's like, so you go down the lines, and it's not to say that they're bad players, but like when you have Valery Nichushkin and like Andrei Burakovsky and stuff deeper down your lineup, it's like those guys are there. They're adding skill, they're adding finesse, which is great, but you need someone on those lines. You need a shutdown offensive line, and it didn't really feel like they had that. But what I would say, I mean, going into the playoffs and even after that first game, I thought Vegas was dusted. But you can't say Colorado wasn't a really great team. They're a genuine cup contender this year. They easily could have made the cup final if they didn't run into Vegas, who's probably second, third best team in the league behind them. Be Tampa Bay, right? So it just goes to show, man, like even it doesn't matter how well your team is built. You know, you're gonna run into teams that you don't match up well against. You're gonna run into a hot team. You kind of need to give your best team, the best lineup you can put together, a few kicks at the can. Obviously last year with the goaltending situation kind of screwed them. This year they seem to stay relatively healthy other than the Byram thing. But just, run into a hot Vegas team. And so for a team like Toronto, just to bring it back to that, because they've been getting on so hard. It's like, dude, Toronto's won as many cups as Colorado has in the last 5 years, right? So maybe the way you're losing is a little bit more heartbreaking, or you're a little bit more of a favorite in the series, but that's not cause to blow it up, because I think like Colorado runs it back with this same lineup, especially with the young guys in their team. Like Colin Jost was just dirtying people. Like he was dancing around. He was looking nasty like he did in junior. So they've like obviously Byram as well. They've got these young guys that don't have much experience in the league. They've got a pretty big window there. You just give it another season. I don't really feel like maybe 1 or 2 moves, but this is not the type of thing where you blow it up.
No.
Right? They're still unreal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Newhook was looking really, really good too. Like I'm pretty sure he had like 10 points and was like a +4 by the end of the playoffs, which is pretty good. So, and they were all assists and he had 1 goal, but still, it was just to see him doing well was nice. And then, I mean, if Byram was in, he probably would have done well as well. So, yeah, I totally agree with what you're saying, Mike. It's, you know, you run into a hot team and you never know what happens, right? And Marc-Andre Fleury also, like, we can't discredit how well he played, because as soon as they threw Robin Leonard in there, like, pretty much to the Wolves in the first game, and then had fucking, what's that?
Oh, I was just gonna say, yeah, he got fucked.
Yeah, and like, essentially they were just like, all right, we need a break for Fleury, and then fucking first game destroyed, and then Marc-Andre Fleury came in, and it was a completely different series after that. Not that he was the main reason, but he also was a big reason why Vegas was in it every game, you know? So
I feel like McKinnon got rattled that series a little bit too. Like, he was pretty quiet until game 7, where he kind of picked it up again and looked a little bit more himself. But it's like, that's great and all. And like, sometimes you get caught up in like that, oh, okay, it's game 3 or it's game 4. This game actually really does matter. And then you realize after the fact that, holy shit, like, we're in such a bad spot or worse spot now. And I don't know, but
He looked like he was trying to do too much a little bit.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. He was like trying to overthink it, and it's just some of the stuff didn't work out. When you're trying to force stuff and it doesn't come naturally, it doesn't really work out in hockey. So
yeah. Well, that top line was smothering him big time. Like,
yeah,
that Stevenson, Mark Stone line was just like, they were not giving him any sort of room to move whatsoever. And Martinez and Theodore did like a crazy job with like keeping the puck in and just making sure that when they had zone time, it was staying in, and it doesn't matter whether they just cycled the puck or got it deep like 6 times in a row. They were just fucking throwing it deep and making Colorado run in circles, and then eventually it went in, and it happened like 15 times throughout that series. It was pretty, well, I mean, to me, it was fucking annoying as hell.
Yeah.
Like, guys, just get it out. Like, how many turnovers are we gonna fucking do to just until it, like, I don't know.
And it was weird to see that happen to Colorado, because they're probably the best breakout team in the league, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So it's really, really uncharacteristic of them. But on the other end too, like, it's hard to win 4 games in a row at any point in an NHL season. To win 4 games in a row in the playoffs against Colorado is massively impressive.
Yeah.
So Vegas is on a heater going into this conference final. Montreal is on a heater. They've won 7 since haven't lost since game 4 of the Toronto series. So this one, I mean, all the odds makers have Montreal as such heavy underdogs. It's like very disrespectful, I think. I don't know if I disagree with it necessarily, but I think this one might be a lot tighter than people are giving the Canadians credit for.
Yeah.
My prediction is 4-2 Vegas.
4-2.
I think. Yep. I think Vegas wins it. All said, but Montreal, Carey Price, man. I forget who it was. Maybe it was Biz Nasty was saying the last time Montreal won 6 games in the playoffs, they won the cup in like 93, and they were just won 7 in a row. So, I mean, I've got 3 predictions right in this whole playoffs, so I'm probably going to be wrong with this one. And Montreal is going to go to the cup final, but we'll see. Hopefully Vegas.
Colton, what you got?
Well, okay, first of all, I just wanted to say this stat that I saw was absolutely fucked. So the Montreal Canadiens have not trailed at any point since game 4 of the first round against the Toronto Maple Leafs, which is 437 minutes that they haven't trailed for. So that's a shit. Like, the only team to do better than that was the Canadiens in 1960, and they went 488 minutes. So we're
game.
What's that?
That's only like one more game.
Yeah. But that's also like, that is so ridiculous. Like, I doubt that stays. Like, I doubt that they even break that record, to be honest. But I mean, anything can happen. These past 2 years, if I've learned anything about hockey, it's that anything can happen on any night, especially in the playoffs. We've seen upsets that we've been like, wait, what? Like last year when with what was it, Montreal and Pittsburgh?
Yeah.
And we were like, what the fuck? Like Pittsburgh was also buzzing last year too. And at that point they just hit Montreal and it was just like a wall. Like
Yeah.
so this is gonna be a tough one. I think if Vegas's second line is rolling as hard as they have, like it's gonna be really hard for Montreal to it's because I think Montreal's top line can shut down any one of their top lines, but then after that it's like, okay, like you put Kotkaniemi out with like Braden McNabb just going around fucking laying kids out, and Kotkaniemi's gonna do a cartwheel like fucking after the little tap. So I'm gonna, you know what? I'm gonna say this goes 4-3. Fuck it. I'll just say Montreal. 4-3 Montreal. Why not? I actually think out of all the teams, I think Montreal matches up the best against Vegas. So we'll see.
Yeah. I mean, I agree in a lot of ways. And that stat you brought up about minutes without trailing, I mean, that's obviously massive for Montreal, especially the way they play. They get a lead and then they don't even worry about skating in your zone.
Yeah.
Perimeter shots.
Yeah.
Yeah. In the neutral zone. Very low action. Like they're like not a lot of shots, not a lot of shit going on, lots of pucks off the glass out of the zone. And if they can play with a lead, it really makes you come to them, and then that gives them chances to break you down if you get caught pinching or something like that. They've got the pace to beat you down the ice. I think Vegas plays like, I feel like both the teams they've played so far, I mean, say what you will about Winnipeg, and Toronto obviously is a different beast, but those are teams that want to score goals and kind of they want to be the team, like they want to outscore you. Whereas I feel like Vegas is one of those teams that, yes, they can outscore you. They've been scoring in bunches. But they're perfectly happy in a 1-0 game, just as Montreal is. And when I look down, I think like the forward lines are really where it comes down. And the Montreal formula of putting that Danault line out and shutting, like Danault and Gallagher, and just shutting down the other team's top line, like I think that's less effective when the other team doesn't have like a top line that you're expecting to score a lot of goals. You know, like if you're shutting down Matthews and Marner, that is a massive in terms of what the other team is getting from their top players. Same thing can be said for, I mean, Scheifele, Wheeler, Ehlers, but Ehlers and Wheeler, Kyle Connor as well. Mark Scheifele didn't really play most of that series, obviously.
None of that series.
Yeah. But I feel like, you know, if you have that Danault line out and you're shutting down like the Pacioretty line, it's like, okay, well, fine. We'll score elsewhere. Vegas has such well-rounded goal scoring that you're not getting that much value out of having a shutdown line. And then they toss out the Mark Stone line. It's like, well, good luck scoring on them. Yeah. Right. This one, I mean, if Montreal can get the first goal, I wouldn't be surprised if they took a couple. And like Carey Price obviously is in God mode right now, but I can't help. I mean, I bet against them every single time, and I'm almost leaning towards Montreal 4-3. I'm going to go Vegas 4-2. I think they're just too good. I think they're head and shoulders better than Montreal. I think they're probably head and shoulders better than anybody that was in the Canadian division this year, if I'm being honest. But this is the first time that we're getting to see cross division play. So who the fuck knows, really?
Yeah.
One big factor here that I do want to mention is you got to look at the difference between, I mean, Montreal is going to be going into Vegas game 1, playing in a fucking packed house. And they've played in front of 2,000 fans in Montreal. So that, especially with how much youth they have on that team, obviously they have a lot of experience as well, but that's going to be a tough one. They're going to be leaning on those experienced guys like Weber, like Corey Perry, Eric Stahl, Carey Price, because that's going to be a very, very intimidating environment and something they're not used to. Even like outside of the intimidation, just like being able to communicate with your teammates. If you can't hear them, that's something that you maybe have got used to over the course of this season playing in empty arenas. So I think that's going to be a massive, massive factor. And it's not something they're going to get at home either. So just for that reason alone, I think I give Vegas the edge in this series, even if I thought the teams were 50-50, which I honestly don't. So I got to go 4-2 Vegas.
Yeah, something very interesting about this series as well is that Nick Suzuki was drafted by Vegas and traded for Pacioretty. So Pacioretty's now playing Montreal, his old team, and Nick Suzuki's playing his old drafted team that he never played a game for. But also Mark Stone has played Montreal, I think 3 or 4 times in the playoffs. It might have been 3 with a couple series wins. And if you look at his stats, I don't have them right now, but it'd be good to put it up on like Twitter or something. Mark Stone's stats against Montreal, because he has always been a pretty good producer and has solved Carey Price. So, I mean, he played against them in the same division for a long time. So he might have some insider knowledge, insider trading, or something between the teammates to solve Carey Price, because they got to do something to break Carey Price's numbers, because I don't think they're going to win the series if they're still like this at the end of the series. So
yeah, well, that brought that up too, because I think Vegas actually does play in a way that makes it not easy, but easier to beat good goalies. Like you look at both Toronto and Winnipeg, the teams Montreal has played, and a lot of their goals are on like, they rely on snipers, clean shots that are just great shots. You look at a lot of Austin Matthews goals, same with Kyle Connor and Nikolai Ehlers, right?
Yeah.
It's just absolute rips. Whereas, and then if the goalie's hot, he gets a good look at the shot. Doesn't matter how good the shot is, he's saving it. And most of the goals Price has let in are like more chippy, right? Vegas scores those chippy goals. They're not relying on players getting good looks and just sniping past goalies, right? They're going backdoor. They're blasting them from the point. They're crowding the net front. And I think that's exactly what you need to beat Carey Price in this series. And really, if you can beat Carey Price, I think it's game over. Carey Price is going to have to stand on his head to give them a chance in this one, and I don't see it.
Yeah.
I think Vegas goes to the finals as per my prediction. But
nice.
Yeah. The one thing that I just thought about now quickly, who do you guys think out of the 4 teams left has? I mean, it's kind of a two-way question, but who has like the best goaltending? And I mean, like, it can be tandem or not, because like you look at Tampa and like they have Vasilevsky, who's by far the best goalie in the league, but like who do they even have as their backup? Is it McElhinney?
Yeah.
Okay, well, yeah. So still, McElhinney has been okay in the past, right? So, but then you have Varlamov and Sorokin, which are they've been pretty reliable for the Islanders so far. You have Jake Allen and Carey Price on Montreal, and then you have Marc-Andre Fleury and Robin Lehner in Vegas, which, I mean, last time we saw Robin Lehner, it wasn't great, but statistically, he's been good in the past.
Yeah.
So it's like all 4 of these teams actually have is that also something that we just haven't seen? Is the goaltending tandems playing a difference in not only the regular season, but like they haven't really switched in the postseason, but does having that confidence of having 2 goaltenders matter? Like,
I don't know. I think the Islanders are the only ones that are actually using the tandem.
Yeah, that's true.
Other than obviously that one center game, which didn't go great. But to be honest with you, dude, I don't disagree. I think I agree that Vasilevsky's the best goalie in the league. He'll probably win the Vezina this year, given his regular season. But if I had to pick one goalie to get me through the conference finals and to the Stanley Cup, having seen the last 2 rounds, it's Carey Price. No question. And half of that is he's just insane. And when he's on his game, like, I don't think, like, right now, I think I'd say Carey Price is better than Vasilevsky. Given the whole season, maybe not. But on top of that, a team like Montreal, the way they play, having someone like Carey Price behind you is just so insanely valuable. Like how calm he is. And, you know, he's not making flashy saves. It's like he's just already there waiting for the puck, which gives your defense so much extra confidence. And like I don't know if you guys saw the interview at the end of the Winnipeg series, I think it was. They interviewed him right after the game. He looked like he hadn't broken a sweat. He was like friggin' absolutely baseline, like heart rate, so chill. He sounded like he was at the park with his kids. Like,
Yeah.
The confidence and like the poise that he exudes, I think is so valuable for Montreal specifically as a team, that I got to give them the edge there.
Yeah. Well, it also like when you have like, and I said this before, but when you have a goaltender that you can rely on so heavily, it gives the confidence for your whole team up front to be able to do what they need to do. And they know, like, especially for a team like Montreal and being as young as they are, like you can take, it lets the kids take risks without like potentially not doing something that they'd want to do because they're scared if it goes the other end, it's going in the net 100%. Like, I mean, I'm going to say if I'm a player on Montreal, I'm thinking Carey Price saves 8 out of 10 shots, if not more, 9 out of 10 shots every time. Doesn't matter whether it's an odd man rush, breakaway. He's just a wall, man. So
10 out of 10, dude.
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah.
I was just watching Braden Point's 8 goals this postseason before this Isles and Tampa Bay game starts, man. And whew, are we going to jump into this one right now? Because I'll give my prediction after seeing that.
Before the game starts, so that we can be biased in our predictions.
Yeah.
Vassey's getting some shots right now, so I'm going to jump out there with my prediction in this series. Personally, I really want the Islanders to win because that barn has just been an absolute, like, it's called the Coliseum. It's a like historic arena for the Islanders. They've won a bunch of cups there and everything, and it's just fucking electric compared to the Barclays Center, where it was just not a hockey arena from through and through. Islanders getting a nice new arena and everything, but man, the Coliseum and the nickname and everything, they are ruthless to the teams against them. I want to see them win, but I'm thinking Tampa Bay, man. They run it back and either win the cup or release in the finals again, because their team hasn't really changed that much. If anything, they got a little bit better, in my opinion. They look great this postseason. The guys that are like the key players in that system know how to win a cup now. So they know what it takes to get it done. They've all done it before, and they're just pretty much a year more with experience. So I'm thinking Tampa Bay runs away with this one in the end, but I think it's going to be a close one. 4-3 Tampa Bay. And pretty much all the series between the Islanders and just in general, a lot of the series, in my opinion, this year have been great for hockey, with just how electric they have been in the stadiums and everything, with like fans in the buildings being back. Something like great to see, because it really spreads the hockey culture and just grows the game. Because a lot of people in the States, kind of down south, think it's a joke sport. So it's good to see it grow in those markets and everything. So yeah. 4-3 Tampa.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm gonna say, I don't know. It's I'm kind of in the same boat as Kurt. Like, I'd really want the Islanders to win because I think it would be awesome just for the sport to see, you know, a team like the Islanders go on, and because I personally think it would be awesome to see Matt Barzal have success and to see him come alive in the second round, like I called him out to do. And he actually started performing on a superstar level. Like, he was almost scoring every single, like, you know what? Just quickly, Matt Barzal getting paid, I don't know how much, but not a whole lot. Taylor Hall wanting fucking, oh, I want $9 million because I'm so good and I'm trying to find my home. I'm so good. But when it comes to the playoffs, oh, I don't know what to do. I had 2 points in 10 playoff games, and one was an empty net goal. Like, fuck you, buddy.
Best players, brother. Don't even fucking get
What's
me.
that?
Taylor Hall was one of Boston's best players, dude.
And that is like the farthest thing from the truth. It was David Pastrnak and Brad Marchand and Patrice Bergeron every game doing all the work, and that was 100% the truth. I have not heard a single person so far been like, oh, you know what, Taylor Hall actually did really well in the playoffs. I think he deserves $8 or $9 million in Boston. Like, this guy is like, he's starting to fall into the category of being like a third line center at this point. Like,
ridiculous. That's ridiculous, dude. Fucking put away your crack pipe.
I don't know, man. I don't know. It's just until I see him start to actually do anything in the postseason, he's delegitimized, like, in my eyes.
Taylor Hall created so many chances on that second line. He added a second line threat to a Boston team that was all one line. We were singing his praises after that first round win against Washington, and he put in the playoff work rate. He fought. He did so much more than just the skill shit. And he revitalized David Krejci, who was absolute garbage for the first half of this season. I completely disagree there, but I do agree that Matt Barzal, top 15 player in the league, heard it here first.
Derek Carr.
Matt Barzal is absolutely buzzing. But I don't know if it's gonna be enough. What was your actual prediction there, Colton?
Oh yeah, true. I could make the argument saying that Matt Barzal's like top 10 if he continues this kind of play. Like, he's scored at least once in the last like 3 games.
I'm pretty sure you called me crazy for saying this last year.
Well, yeah, but times have changed. Like, guys get better over time and shit. Guys get worse.
Yeah.
You know, not to say any names, but I think we know who. You know what? Just to go against Curtis's prediction, because it seemed to work for me in the first round.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say 4-3 Islanders. I think it's gonna go seven games, 100%. They can't get blanked like they did last year. Well, no. What did it go last year? Does anybody know?
I want to say 4-1, but it might have been 4-2.
Yeah, I had a feeling like it was like it. The score didn't look close, but the games were like fairly close. So I'm gonna say 4-3.
All right. I mean, I think you guys hit the nail on the head here. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's just us, but nobody, I feel like, really wants to see Tampa win.
Yeah.
They're just too much of a wagon at this point. It's like ridiculous. Having said that, I mean, you look at the Islanders, obviously they've improved just year over year without the addition of players. But they have added Kyle Palmieri and Travis Zajac, which are 2 big names offensively. So, I mean, it's that compared to Tampa Bay, who's added David Savard, and you can't forget Steven Stamkos did not play in any of that series last year. So,
oh yeah, true.
For me, it's kind of like if you take those 2 additions on both teams, which team improved more? And I feel like I'm taking Savard and Stamkos over Palmieri and Zajac every day of the week. Obviously, I think in that time, the Islanders have improved more as a team than Tampa has. I don't know if it's going to be enough to make up the difference, though. And I got some stats for this one because there's some pretty shocking stats. If you look at like the analytics stuff, the Islanders come into this series having only a 46% expected goal share, and a 42% Corsi, which is like if that were regular season, that's like bottom of the league numbers.
Yeah.
So the fact that they've been able to pull these out, they've been getting good goaltending, and being able to score very opportunistically. I don't think that's going to cut it against a Tampa team. You're not going to get many bad goals against Vasilevsky. And I feel like you're not going to be able to give up the chances they've been giving up a team that can score as well as Tampa Bay. And the big thing for me, which I was actually really surprised by, the Islanders' penalty kill is operating at 60%, which is fucking disastrous. Dude.
Oh, wow.
With Tampa Bay's power play above 40% and the Islanders right around 60, I feel like that gives Tampa Bay such a massive edge. And like we've seen, you mentioned, like a lot of Kucherov's points are on the power play. And the power play probably won Tampa Bay the Carolina series. Like the Islanders are going to have to fix that because otherwise you basically can't take penalties.
Yeah.
You know? Like they did a good job of staying out of the box against Boston, who also have a great power play, but Tampa's on another level, and I feel like they play a game that's more difficult to play clean hockey against. It's difficult to not take penalties against them. So I got to give Tampa the edge here. I'm going to go with the easy score. I got to go 4-2. Just because I feel like once it goes 3-2, they're going to win game 6 in Nassau Coliseum and fucking send the fans packing.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if the Islanders can play like clean, because Bruce Cassidy even said in the last season or the last series, he said in the media that, you know, the refs were calling stuff on them that, you know, like the refs were calling stuff on Boston that they weren't calling on the Islanders. So and then it was funny because they asked Barry Trotz during his media session, and they were like, well, what do you have to say about Bruce Cassidy complaining about your team not getting called because they're quote unquote like the most disciplined team in hockey? And he was like, I don't know, ask him what he means by that. I don't know what, like, essentially the most clean answer that you can get as a coach. But I looked it up too. They are the second, they've taken the second least penalties in the league throughout the regular season. So if they can keep that clean style hockey and maybe like not even neutralize the power play, but like completely make sure it doesn't happen,
yeah,
that's a problem solved right there. But we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah. I mean, that is going to be a key, massive key.
Yeah.
It's like, man, that 8-goal second period, Tampa was 3 for 3 on the power play. That's the game right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Can't let that happen.
I wonder, there hasn't really been big injuries like in a series like with a big name player yet. I wonder if this is like, not to jinx anyone.
Yeah.
Hopefully no one gets seriously injured other than John Tavares and Jake Evans. But I feel like there could be like a blown ACL or something in the series.
Oh, dude, don't say that.
Yeah, I don't know. I just have that weird feeling. So, but looking at, I was just watching the intro to this game, man, and Amalie Arena is absolutely buzzing right now. They're coming out on the ice. This is going to be one hell of a series, and if anyone's a hockey fan, you got to watch this one, of course. But
yeah, dude,
this one looks great already.
And I think we'll probably wrap it so that we can fucking hop over to watch the game. But first, I just want to point out real quick, I don't know if the markets are still open on it, but Nikita Kucherov to score 7+ points in this series at triple your money.
What?
It's like decent value.
That is ridiculous. That's easy.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't want to say it, but yeah.
I'll knock on wood for you.
Appreciate that.
I would totally put money on that, but for some reason my Betway account is at like 23 cents. I don't know why. Like I have no idea why. It's not because I was missing like literally every single bet I placed, but I mean, I don't know. Kurt, what do you think the final score of this game is going to be? Game 1.
Game 1? I don't know.
Is it still 0-0?
Yeah. It's,
okay.
Like puck drop is happening right now. 5-2 Tampa Bay.
Jeez. Coming out strong. Coming out buzzing. Wow. Okay. Well, we got Kurt's predictions there. If he ends up being right, then I don't know. We'll get him a Klondike bar or something good. You know?
Yes. Or dibs.
Either one, just some. But all right, guys. Thank you so much for listening. If you made it this far, we appreciate you a lot. We also have this episode and a lot more of our short clips up on our YouTube channel. You can find us at the Pond Hockey Podcast. And yeah, go check out our socials. They'll be in the description. And we're almost at episode 50, and we got something special planned for the big 5-0. So thank you guys so much for listening, and we'll catch you guys next week for another fun-packed episode. And yeah, we'll see you guys soon. So from all of us here at the Pond, peace.
Peace.
What up,
everyone?